Las Tortugas de San Marcos la Laguna. His name was Brian, but he insisted on being called Grasshopper. He wore a bright green huipile and funky purple sunglasses. He smiled at everyone and everything while humming softly to himself. He looked at the dead turtle that was not far from the dock, and then looked away, nervously. Then he looked back again with a look that was intended to convey compassion but more convincingly conveyed confusion. "I'm really sorry, fellow earthling, for what my selfish brethren have wrought upon ye," he said in a very odd staccato voice that varied in pitch randomly. The remaining sea turtles just stared back at him, which made Brian nervous. "My teacher would know what to do." Grasshopper, muttered quietly before dashing off, stumbling clumsily among the yoga students and villagers, apologizing as he ran. The two remaining sea turtles just watched him. "Idiot," the big one said. "Don't worry about him, big brother," the smaller one said. She looked at her big brother compassionately. He stared at Grasshopper for a while, and then looked away. "He's an idiot," big brother grumbled, and you could see the pain in his eyes that had turned to anger, the bitter resentment, but when he looked at his little sister and saw that she was smiling, he couldn't linger. "I guess you're right," little sister squealed happily. "So what's the plan now?" Big brother looked at her through thin slits of his eyes and muttered, "What else could the plan be? We're going home." And with that he slunk into the lake, and his little sister followed him. Grasshopper watched the two sea turtles disappear into the lake and tried to yell something in Cachiquel, reasoning that they might understand that native tongue, but he couldn't remember anything besides "Uts," which he yelled rather loudly and which caused no reaction from anybody, except for a quiet laugh from a lady and her daughter on the dock. Big brother and little sister. The two sea turtles went to sleep that night in some reeds not far from shore when they were awoken by incessant annoying growls and barks of dogs. Big brother grumbled, but since he was awake, he paddled out into the lake. "I'm so glad I have a protective bro like you," his sister said sleepily and happily. Big brother started paddling slowly and then more quickly as he moved across the lake. He was heading east toward the ocean as best as he could figure. As his stomach started grumbling, he realized the unpleasant truth that he would have to find food out there somehow. "The trek to the sea might take a really long time," Big brother told his sister. "We could always beg the people for food," little sister said, optimistically. "They'll confuse you. Some will tell you to live a simple life in the lake. Others will try to seduce you, either with a nice bed or with comfortable things. It's best if we just try to find what we can amidst the garbage and then move along." But that's what happened to Big Sister. She was seduced by the people, and they stole her eggs and took her life. "We don't belong here in this resort town," Big brother said. Little sister didn't say anything else. The two continued staying away from people as much as they could, snacking on fish and banana peels while looking for places where people had dumped excess produce. This continued for a few days, but there wasn't much food to find, and what little there was making the two of them kinda sick. "I'm sorry, big brother, but we're gonna die this way. I'm going up to the village to ask the people for help." "Don't be stupid," Big brother said, growling at her. "They'll kill you. You might be lucky to find a well-meaning gringo who will try to help you out, but don't count on it." He blocked her path, but she kept swimming. His pathetic attempt to bite her only clanged uselessly against her hard shell, and he was left with a choice. Either go his own way or follow, and try to protect his sister. He followed her. "This is such a bad idea," he muttered. "You're being melodramatic. We won't lose our souls," she yelled back, continuing towards the bright lights of the tourist-filled Panajachel. It was late when the two arrived near the docks of Pana. Most of the tourists chasing taxi drivers and street vendors were either gone or would soon be gone for the day. The few who were remaining could barely believe what they were seeing. Someone did believe what they were seeing because Big Brother could see a huge mound of greens that had been piled up for them. "This can't be good," he said, suspicious of the free food. "Just learn to accept, Big Brother. If I've learned anything, it's that nothing is ever free," he said. He followed her cautiously, looking this way and that to try to find the hidden benefactor or gorilla with a net. He saw no one. "I don't know," Big Brother groaned. His little sister began munching on greens and vegetables. "Just enjoy it," little sister said, munching on leftover tortillas and greens. He was hungry, so he bent his head down too, and the food did taste mighty good. When he looked up again, he saw that they were surrounded by locals and tourists alike, all snapping pictures or reaching in to pet the turtles of the lake. "Wonderful," one lady said. "Terrible," another said. "They must be the ones polluting the water." Her husband chuckled. "And not our waste, right?" "Where did they come from?" another asked. "I don't know, but this is trouble," someone else answered. "I wonder what they're saying," little sister wondered aloud. "Nothing we want to hear," Big Brother said, then began to edge his way through the crowd, waiting for his sister to follow him, trying to pretend like he was in control, like everything was normal. The police stopped the cars as the two crossed the street. "We have to be careful," Big Brother said, "or they'll steal our eggs." "You mean my eggs," little sister said. Big Brother groaned, said nothing, and continued leading the way through town. They walked past cars blaring loud music, TVs proclaiming the beginning of a new era of democracy, men in suits and young boys with spiked hair and Nike shoes. The people were staring at the turtles, though the turtles tried not to notice, and they were exhausted, but Big Brother tried to pretend that he wasn't. "We need to get back to the lake," little sister said. "It's too hard to walk out here." "No," Big Brother said. "There is no place for us on the lake, and we can't depend on the tourists and idiots. We need the freedom of the sea." "Maybe," little sister said. "But how do you intend to get there? Do you even know what to eat once we do get there? We'll die not a mile from here. We'll never make it. We need the tourists, and yes, the idiots, to help us. Maybe one of them could take us to the sea," she mused. Big Brother looked back. They were both half dehydrated, but hardly half a mile from the lake, and exhausted. The two stood looking at the lake for a long time. A man came up to bless them, save them, but the turtles didn't know what to do, and so they ignored him. A lady came by, taking pictures. They ignored her too. A little girl tried to get on top of little sister to ride her, and the two started walking back towards the lake, confused, but trying not to panic, trying to remain calm. "Let's go back to the lake for now," Big Brother said, sighing. "I guess you're right." But just as they were entering the lake, there was a shot. The crowd that had been surrounding the turtles quickly dispersed, and Big Brother fell. In no time at all, a Toyota truck pulled up, put Big Brother on a tarp, and pulled him into the bed of the Toyota as it sped away. Little sister watched, frozen and terrified. She wasn't moving, and she would die soon too. So Grasshopper, who had been watching the whole time, appeared out of the crowd and yelled, "Snap out of it! Return to the water, or you'll die too." She was overcome with anxiety, with fear, with dread and panic. "My brother is dead! My brother is dead!" she said, wishing she could make this Grasshopper understand. But whatever she said, he didn't understand. And whatever he said, she didn't understand either. He just stood there completely out of place with his yellow and red sandals and purple sunglasses, and she just stood there on the shore of Lake Atitlan, just as out of place as he was. She began to run towards the lake, but in a nervous way, going this way and that, unpredictably. Grasshopper stood right in front of her, not thinking to move. Grasshopper yelled, Just live in harmony with the other turtles and let nature take its course. Little sister headbutted him and he rolled onto her back, stunned, and then another shot rang out. Little sister fell, and with a mighty splash, into the lake. The people of the lake, even those who lived there, didn't know what to make of the whole scene. It had all happened so suddenly. Little sister slowly floated out into the lake and either died there or disappeared. Big brother would be taken to a quiet beach where his kidnappers would ascertain that he wasn't a female and that he didn't have eggs. And after this, they would kill him. It's just the result of modernity, a taxi driver mused, watching the excitement die down and life slowly return to normal. Grasshopper would wake up a day later, saddened by the events. He would eventually make his way back to San Marcos La Laguna, where he would spend the rest of his days looking for more sea turtles. But he would never again see any.